Hi, this is Dr. Wyatt. I'm a behavioral health doctor and a licensed clinician. Do your kids get in conflicts with other kids? Probably the answer is yes, right? Every kid gets in conflicts with other kids. But you know, as a parent, you're not really sure what to do. It's not like the majority of parents go out and they're like, you know what, just go ahead, beat up on people, no problem. That's usually not what we're teaching our children. We're trying to teach our children how to resolve those conflicts. You know what? There's a couple of acronyms, a couple of tools that I want to teach you during Social Wellness Month. That's what July is. I'm going to teach you a couple of acronyms on how to work with your kids in resolving conflict. So first of all, I think it's important to understand that everybody gets mad. To punish your child because they have gotten mad in a situation is really not effective. Helping your child cope with why they got mad and helping them when they have calmed back down to understand why that situation impacted them the way that it did and what are some of the things that they could have done differently if maybe their actions weren't the best. That is really true parenting. Honestly, as an adult, I get mad too, and sometimes I say things and do things that I shouldn't have done, and I know better. So the bottom line is kids don't know. They don't know unless we teach them. This is a really important skill. And might I say that what's even more important than teaching them, in addition to that, is modeling conflict resolution skills for our kids. So this means within the home, we are practicing this with them, meaning how we're treating them, and we're practicing this with how we treat other people. Now, here are a few thoughts that I want you to consider in terms of how to help children act calm. All right. Now, when kids are out of control, I've been talking a lot on some of these videos about the limbic system of their brain. This is the fight, flight, or freeze part of our brain. That is the survival mechanism. So where does all that anger come from? Where does the conflict come from? Well, sometimes it comes from internal sources, meaning the limbic system of that child's brain can be activated. Maybe they feel like they're in a dangerous situation. Maybe they're really angry and they don't know how to calm themselves down. It also can come from the environment. If we are living in a violent situation, a turbulent situation, a chaotic situation, there also can be a lot of conflict that comes from the environment. So how do we help children act calm or calm themselves down? Number one, we're going to give them some options. Let them know that, you know what, it takes a lot more courage to walk away and to control yourself than it does to get in a full-on fight with somebody else. Number two, teach them that active fighting doesn't solve the problem. It actually makes the problem worse, doesn't it? And if this is happening at school, they're going to have additional problems. Point out those problems. Sometimes they're in detention. Sometimes they get labeled as a bad kid. It does happen. Sometimes they get suspended. Sometimes child welfare gets involved. There's a lot of extra negative consequences that can come from a child not knowing how to resolve conflict. Now, remind them that when they get angry or they get mad, but they don't fight, that is true control. Look, this is a way of thinking about anger. It's a way of thinking about conflict. When they have chosen to walk away from that fight instead of engage in it, they truly have won. Most importantly, they're able to remain and stand in their integrity. And kids need to be taught about integrity and the importance of self-control. They can start learning this at very young ages, even at the age of 3, 4, 5 years old. They can learn how to calm themselves with conflict. Now, sometimes getting along with other kids is hard. We have countless stories on the internet about bullying and all kinds of stuff. You know, I'm a parent. I've had both of my children been bullied in school at different times. I myself was bullied. I grew up a military brat, and then my dad was in construction, so we were constantly moving all over the place. I was the new kid. I was definitely a target everywhere I went. So I had to learn about conflict. I had to learn to figure out better ways of dealing and getting around a situation that really would have wound up causing additional problems for me. And I would have gotten in additional trouble at home. So getting along with those other kids can be difficult, even to the point where you can get into fights with other people at school when they're angry. They get teased a lot. They're encouraged by other people to fight. They're called a chicken or other kinds of names if they're not fighting or actually engaging in violence. We see a lot of cyberbullying that's happening now, which in my view is cowardice. You know, when I was growing up, you were a coward if you didn't say something to somebody's face. Nowadays, isn't even necessary, is it? They can just post whatever they want to with a username that is anonymous and say whatever they want. So I think the level of conflict and bullying is actually worse than even 20 years ago, say, even 10 years ago. Now look, everybody gets mad, all right? And the thing about anger is it generally doesn't last very long. Anger generally lasts anywhere from about 30 seconds to about 2 minutes. It kind of rises like this, and it peaks, and then it tails off on the other end. That's how the emotion and the intensity of anger lasts within a person. So if we can teach children, adolescents, heck, even adults, how to get through that intense increase in that feeling of emotion and then the decrease and make it to the bottom side of that, the back end of that feeling, that's the true power. So a lot of kids get mad when their feelings are hurt, when they can't do what they want to do, they don't understand what's going on, or there's lies being told about them. When they feel left out, they're not included. Maybe they don't act the way that they want, or other people don't act the way that they want. Sometimes there's a little bit of control going on there. Also, their bodies react in a certain way. Did you know that their hearts will beat faster? That's a blood pressure thing that's also related to the limbic system. Their faces will get hot, red, sweaty. Other things, it might be hard to breathe. And frankly, they can't think clearly. Also, they have a lot of energy. Have you noticed that angry kids have an increase in adrenaline? We do as adults too, but they do too. And because of that, they want action. So therein, we've got kids that are impulsive because they have a lack of brain development. And what are they doing? They're coming out swinging. That's what they're doing. They're acting out. They want it fixed now. So when children are angry, it's really important to have two things. Number one, good to put their feelings into words. So instead of just having a reaction that's a physical response or an emotional response, try to teach them how to put their feelings into words. It actually calms them down, and it uses a different part of their brain in the moment that decreases conflict. Number two, teach them that it's not good to hit other people. Violence is never the answer. It actually escalates the problem. Breaking things or saying things, that are hurtful to other people. All of these things are difficult habits to break once kids become adults. And we know a lot of adults that use these behaviors to express their anger and to express their hurt. And so what we've got to do, number one, as parents and as guardians, is we've got to control our own anger and our own conflict, and then teach our kids how to do the same. So I want you to consider teaching your kid ACT. So this is the acronym, ACT. It's 3 steps. It's really easy. You can teach your kids. They can remember because it's a mnemonic, meaning ACT. It's a mnemonic that they can remember easily. It's also easy for adults to remember. ACT is a really simple way to de-escalate conflict with a child. So number one, which would be A of ACT, is acknowledge. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach our kids to acknowledge the angry feeling. It's okay to absolutely say, I'm angry. You've ticked me off. I don't like that you did that. I don't like that you did this. I don't like that I've been treated this way. This person pushed me on the playground and it made me mad. You see where I'm going with this. It's okay to verbally acknowledge those feelings. So the second part of acknowledge is to actually teach your children to notice the changes in their body. Sometimes in our mind, cognitively, we don't even realize that we've gone to 0 to 20 in 2 seconds flat. But with kids, what we can do is teach them about how anger and conflict shows up in their body. And these can be warning signs. Sometimes the warning signs in our body are more noticeable than the ones that are in our brain. Okay, so things like heart racing, Their face is feeling hot and sweaty. It's hard to breathe. It's hard to talk. I can't think clearly. You have a lot of energy. It's that adrenaline pump. And I want action. And it could be, I want to smack some people around. It could be that too, okay? The point is you want to teach them what it feels like and what it looks like in their body and in their brain. Now, the second part of ACT, which is the C, stands for calm down. Number one, we've got to teach our kids some calming strategies. So we call this conflict resolution, but this is really important. It's free. You can do it anywhere. And frankly, everyone should be doing this. What we're going to do is we're going to counteract the physical symptoms, that limbic system of our brain that's all revved up. We're going to try to calm that down, because as we calm that down, we actually can make different choices. So the first thing I want you to do is, when you're not in a heightened situation, so this is a calm situation, take a few moments to teach your child how to do breathing exercises, how to ground themselves. And I'll link some resources for that in the description box and at the end of the video. But breathing deeply actually physically slows down our heart rate and de-escalates that anger. The second one is count to 10. And if you need to, count to 20. It really depends on your kid. Really what you're trying to do is delay impulsivity. Okay? What they would do immediately when they're angry, you want them to stop. Have 10 seconds, have 20 seconds, have 30 seconds of just stopping and thinking and giving their body and their system a chance to calm down and think through what they're going to do next. The third thing that you can teach them in terms of a strategy is to just simply walk away. Walking away gives them the opportunity to do all of the things that I've just mentioned. All right, now for some of our kids, they need to be doing physical activities in order to calm down. Not everybody is able to breathe themselves to a place of de-escalation, and that is physiologically, that is true. So there are going to be some kids, if you have the time or the space in the moment, maybe they need to punch a pillow. Maybe they need to run around. Maybe they need to ride their bike. Maybe they need to play music. They need to physically do something that's constructive in order to de-escalate that conflict feeling that they have inside. Okay, and then the last part, which is T, which is think and talk, in the ACT acronym, is after your child has calmed down, I want you to do a couple of things. Number one is I want you to teach your child how to think about the problem and then come up with ways to fix it. So a lot of times we just spout out the problem, but we're not really thinking about the problem. So teach your child how to examine how that problem came up. What were the events that led up to the problem? What happened that led up to everybody losing their cool and getting angry? So once your child is calm, I want you to take a quiet moment in a non-judgmental space, and I want you to help them think about the problem. So what were the events and the activities or the words that led up to everybody losing their cool? Teach them how to think about it and evaluate it critically. Kids are very good at this. If you will walk them back through the event without being judgmental or putting a lot of pressure on them, they actually will come up with ideas about why they thought that the event happened in the first place. They're very, very smart. And then number two would be come up with ways to fix it. If they can't come up with ways, you can offer solutions in a helpful tone. You can offer those solutions yourself. Another thing is try to encourage them to talk to you about how they feel about the event, how they feel about the person, how they feel now that things have calmed down. You know, what are their thoughts moving forward? What do they need moving forward? This is an opportunity to think and to talk. Thinking first and then talking about the incident. Because really what we want them to learn is that getting mad is not the big deal. That's not the biggest concern. It's what was going on with the event that caused you to get so angry, and what can we do about it next time? Now, if there isn't someone for them to think about or talk to and kind of work through that strategy right away, this is what you teach them to do. This is the phrase. This is why I am mad, and what I need to do is, and then have them fill in the blank to that question. Okay? This is why I am mad. So you want them to identify the emotion. Okay, I'm mad and this is what I think happened and this is why. And then have them think about, and it's okay for them to do this on their own if they don't have somebody present in the moment, what I need to do is. So all of this training and working with your kids ahead of time is hopefully going to help them get in a headspace where they can de-escalate conflict in the moment and kind of think their way through how to fix that problem. Okay, now let me share another strategy with you that you can teach your kids. And of course, this is little people or adolescents, it doesn't matter. It's called calm. For the letter C, it's calm down. Big shocker there, right? But it's calm down, and you're going to teach your child how to do that. So keeping a safe distance from the other person is one of the strategies that they can use. Taking slow, deep breaths. Remember what I said about teaching them breathing techniques and actually slowing down their blood pressure and their heart rate? And then also stay alert. It's okay to stay alert on what's going on around you. You want them to be able to protect themselves and stand tall. When you are staying calm and you are in a place of distance from this other person, that is not a sign of weakness. Teach your child that actually having self-control is the ultimate power. So the second letter in the word calm is A, and that stands for avoid. Okay, so in these situations, there are some things that we can avoid. Teach your child to avoid name calling or insults or returning insults. It really only makes things worse. It just raises that conflict level in both parties, and there's very little chance of things ending well when there's a whole lot of talking going on. Avoid other kids that want to fight. There are just some kids that like to fight. They like the adrenaline, they like acting out, they have their own psycho-emotional problems that are going on and needs that are not being met. So avoiding those kids from the get-go is probably a better way to go. And then if your kid wants to fight, talk with them in a private place, not a public place. We don't want to public shame children that are in escalated, angry situations. Talk with them in a private place about why they want to fight. I would tell you that more often than not, there are reasons underneath that. Meaning there's anger up here, but underneath the anger, there's other stuff. Like maybe they feel abandoned or they feel hurt or they feel unheard or whatever. Sometimes there might be things going on at home that nobody knows about. Maybe they themselves are being bullied or picked on by their kids. There are other reasons sometimes for why kids want to fight, and being able to talk with them privately is really important. If fights happen on a public school campus, obviously you can reach out to the teacher, but you as a parent also have the right to request the help of the school social worker. Every school probably has a mental health professional that's part of their staff. These staff members have to, by law, deal with individual education plans and special education needs, but they are also there to help with conflict resolution. So there are other resources that you can reach out to within the public school setting and probably the private school setting that you may not already know about. And then the last letter stands for listen. Calmly listen to what the other kid says. It's important to listen to what your kid is saying. A lot of times we want to listen as a parent from the standpoint of just hearing what they're saying, and we're thinking about what our response is going to be. Okay? We may think by listening to what they're saying that it's just dumb, or it doesn't make sense, or why would you even go there, or it's not worth picking a fight, or why didn't you walk away? Sometimes we have our own rhetoric that's going on in our head, but I'm going to challenge you to wait. I'm going to challenge you to actively listen to what they're telling you, because it gives you the opportunity to ask follow-up questions and find out more about the situation as a whole, instead of just that one event that got volatile. Another thing you can ask your child under the listen category is, what does this person really want? So this could be, what do you want, meaning your child? What do you really want to happen in this situation? Sometimes they haven't thought that through. They're just angry in the moment and they're lashing out, right? But what do they really want to happen? Most of them don't want to be in a situation where they're in a fight with other people at school, or they're in a fight with other people in the neighborhood, or a fight with somebody in their family. People don't really want conflict. Generally, we're wired as human beings to want to step away from that. So asking that question, I think, is important. And then follow up with your kid and ask them what they think the other kid wants. So this helps them to critically think and analyze the whole picture, okay? And it also teaches them how to come up with solutions that maybe they hadn't thought of before. Now, M in CALM stands for move on. You know, sometimes we can give our kids options about other things they can do than just fighting or a war of words, okay? Sometimes maybe you're going to use humor. Sometimes humor can deflect a conflict situation. Maybe you teach your kid to give a reason to the other kid about why fighting's not good. Maybe they're both going to be thrown off the football team if they fight, or they're both going to be suspended from school and get in further trouble with their parents if they fight. Sometimes those motivations can keep people from actually following through with violence. And the last one would be walk away. I've mentioned that before. It really is a position of power, and what it does is it takes away the focus from the other individual that's wanting to start a fight. So by walking away, you are taking away his catalyst. It's so important for kids to understand that fighting isn't the only option. They can use their brains. They can't act like they don't even care about it. Maybe they don't care about it. And they can get to a point where it's just not important to them to engage in those kinds of activities. So children do what they see other people doing. And so you are your child's most important role model and teacher. It's actually not the world around them. Although they do learn from their environment as well, that's not the most impactful person. The most impactful person in a child's life is the same-sex parent or guardian in the child's life. So consider that power, consider that influence that you have to teach your kids about how to resolve conflict. Because you know what? Conflict amongst humans isn't going away anytime soon. And you know, as adults, we're still going to have conflict. But understanding how to regain our power and our dignity through that is vital. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and share on my channel. I can't wait to hear from you.